I'm Sophie, and I'm one of the co-founders of The Joyful. And today I'm joined by Lulu Minns. She wins. Who is an award-winning coach who specializes in helping women, or business women specifically, to find their purpose. And Lulu is also the founder of She Rebel Radio, which if you haven't checked out, you can do so in the link below. So today we're going to be talking about purpose, but more specifically, we're going to be talking about what to do if you, like many, many, many people in the world today, feel like you just can't find your purpose. So welcome, Lulu. Thank you so much for joining us to talk about what is a really important topic. It's really great to have you here.
It's good to be here, and it's good to talk about purpose, losing it, finding it, and
playing around with it. So yeah, I mean, with purpose, like, first of all, it would be really, really interesting to find out what your experience of finding your purpose is.
Yeah, my experience is, and the women that I support, is that it's a real journey. It's not a destination, and I think we can get really caught up in there being, one purpose and one place that we need to be. So a lot of the overthinking, overwhelm can come into that, whereas sometimes it's really simple as rewinding it back, being present in the moment that I feel this year has taught us all at much deeper level, and maybe even asking the question, what's my purpose today?
Yeah, and that's a really interesting one, because I know from my own experience that I can sometimes get very overwhelmed by thinking that my whole life has this one defining purpose, and if I don't somehow achieve that purpose, then I don't know, like all kinds of like mean words that I might say to myself, like, failure, or that I'm, haven't achieved my whole life's, mission. And really, like, that's not true, is it?
No, it's definitely not true. And I think, it's really important that our purpose is definitely connected to that visionary part of ourselves, which is really heart-based. And, to do that, we need to be compassionate to ourselves as well, because, if we're trying to build a purpose-led, compassionate business, but being a bitch to ourselves on the side of it, like we can't have what we cannot be. And there's a real shift around that, and there's a real shift in consciousness around that, and we can't go and fix things outside of ourselves. It really does start with us. So whenever that, I sometimes call it seat of disturbance in terms of overwhelm and overthinking and all of that stuff comes in, is to really step back and simplify.
Yeah, and I think that's something that a lot of people are learning this year, where suddenly life came to a halt, and the beauty of simplicity has been shown to a lot of us, and I think it is making people question what it is that they're even doing on their kind of back in the regular world, and whether that might be their job, or how they're consuming, or how they're being in general. How have you seen that? Has there been any trends that you've seen around people that you've been working with?
Yeah, absolutely. And the minute we got, the day we had received, a lockdown announcement in the UK, I was feeling really sick and anxious that day. After in February, thinking it was just going to be like swine flu, I was like, oh God, like this is really happening. And then I instantly felt better when we kind of got the announcement, because we knew where we were at. But really, like when my background is a criminal defence lawyer, and when I left that job, that was my purpose, and had been since I was 21. When I left, I was given 10 weeks paid leave, which was really interesting that the UK was locked down for around 10 or 12 weeks, because whilst, the pubs were still open and I could go and do this, my little world at that time, and all the hours that I was working totally like shut down. I was suddenly sent home with my shoes from under my desk, my SIM card taken off me. I'd been at the firm for 11 years, and I had this 10 or 12 weeks, this pause, which I really started to go, yeah, why am I here, and what am I doing, and what do I want to do? And what I really saw was the whole nation and the whole world was having this moment of great pause, and we could either turn that into something positive for ourselves in terms of connecting with purpose and actually how we can lead from that space, or there was a lot of frenetic, chaotic, fear-based energy. We all had a choice in that moment. And you know, I know many people were really going down the purpose, looking at their purpose and why they're here. And I feel like this question has magnified as a result of the pandemic.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people have gone through kind of both sides of, like, there'll be times when it's the fear, and then times when it's the like, nope, I can do this, and I'm gonna really like use this as an opportunity, and then the next day it's straight back into the fear again. And I think it's been quite a roller coaster for a lot of people in that respect. But
yeah, and there's been a lot of people I know that have missed lockdown, you know, have missed that retreat that we were, you know, kind of able to have in some ways. Some people are missing that slowing down because everything's like speeding up again.
yeah, I mean, yeah, like I kind of missed the whole thing in general, because my business, being an online business, sped up anyway. So I was in lockdown, but definitely didn't have any kind of a rest. So like,
same. I've had a bit of that now, actually. The last kind of August, September has been a bit of a rest.
Yeah. It's just been a really interesting time. And I think there are equally a lot of people who are finding that they're losing sight of that purpose. And as things are starting to shift again, and as the world is half opening up and half closing back down, and it's kind of like whoop, 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 it's causing a lot of confusion, and that also causes a sort of unstable energy for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And we're definitely finding a lot of our clients who, or people who we speak to within the business community, who are, again, like maybe losing sight of why they started, and have been on that sort of treadmill of just making things work, just going through the motions because there's that need. Yeah. And then actually they're losing that heart glimmer again. Like what would you suggest to someone who might be going through that process?
It's that recognizing that, you know, we are human, and you know, we can forget that when we're trying to get things out there in the world. And you know, our safety and security need has been massively shaken when things as we know them have totally changed, which changes the foundation, it kind of rocks the foundation for all of us. And during lockdown, I put together, you know, a course of the 3 keys to self-actualization, which is actualizing your purpose and potential. And you know, it's mainly designed for women because of the conditioning women receive, but it applies to everybody in terms of, you know, the first key is to self-securitize. And you know, and that's that, what do I need to do to feel safe and secure today? And you know, that is absolutely key, because if all that is shaking around because of things outside of ourselves, it really is an invitation. I'm not saying it's an easy one, but it's really an invitation to find that safety and security within. And the more that we can practice that and do that despite what's going on in the world, you know, because I predict over the next 10 years there's going to be a lot of change and transition in the world, and we need to be able to stay grounded and be able to self-securitize to, you know, build and create change in the world. And that's not an easy thing to do, but definitely with the pandemic there's been an invitation for us to start to practice and be able to do that more. And I definitely had to learn to do that when I left my job. Anyway, so there was a lot of things that made sense to me. I was like, this is why all this has happened. Like, I've got some stuff to really, really teach, and help people that are feeling that way.
Yeah. So in that sense, using your experiences, using your maybe not the greatest experience at the time, but using the material that you took from that to really hone in on your purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it really started with that self-securitizing, like, how can I feel stable and secure when I didn't know how I was going to pay my bills, and I didn't know what my purpose was. And, you know, there were elements of I didn't know who I was outside of the job that I was doing. And there were all, you know, and that's why when we started, you know, before all great change comes a shitstorm. It's the same as, you know, getting divorced. There's an identity shift. There's all this stuff going on, and you know, we have to navigate that. But the first thing that we need to do is to self-securitize ourselves, and feel safe and secure. You know, you see animals. When I moved house, like my cats, I totally changed their foundation, and they were like hiding in the wardrobe, coming out, going back in, coming out again, going a little bit further, going back in. And I was like, just watching them going, you know, they're self-securitizing. They go, what's out here? Ducking in. But as long as you keep on going in that little bit further, then it's okay. But if you're sitting hiding under the duvet still, then
Yeah, and I really love that, and I love how you talk in general about where are you at today, rather than like the big picture, which again is so overwhelming, and especially in a kind of time when we don't have any clue what's going to happen next. It's all we have is all we've ever had is today, right this minute, anyway.
Yeah, and it's a great reminder of that. And I, with She Rebel Radio, my podcast, I was trying to, unleash a bit more of my inner architect and be a bit more of a planner than I actually am naturally. And I had a plan, and I had to rip it all up. And I was like, actually, and again, this is a part of my purpose. I'm very intuitive, and I'm actually very good at responding to things as they come up. So actually, how can I do a little bit more of that, and be present in the moment? Because again, I was kind of starting to forget that. And it's such an important piece to your purpose, is actually being present in the moment. Because when you lose your purpose, it's because you're getting caught up in all the hows and the this, that and the other. And you can even find your to-do list. The amount of clients that I've had that tell me that their goals is their to-do list, I'm like, that's a to-do list.
Yeah, but I think that's because we've been conditioned to believe that success is hard work, striving, doing, achieving, moving through time, moving our bodies through time to get to somewhere. And then once we get there, then what? Like then there's the other thing, like quick.
Yeah. And they're all called what I call kind of quite masculine based principles, and that there's not a space for the doing. You can't just sit on our yoga mat and expect things to happen. But
I really
I try. But it's when that's out of balance, comes the exhaustion and the tension and all of that, and the loss of who it is that you're being. And we can't have what we can't be. So we really need to. And just in the shift, even before the pandemic, like technology, when I started 5 years ago in business, 5.5 years ago, it might even be 6 years ago that I started my first business, technology's changed so much, and it is taking over the role of the doing.
Yeah.
So we really need to focus on the being and the human aspect of change, which takes space.
Exactly that. And I think one of the key things that we always talk about is within that sort of being quietening down a little bit and listening. And I know you're a massive advocate for listening and asking the right questions, because actually, we can find out so much about who we are and who we are as business people as well. And more importantly, what our audiences want from us as leaders and as businesses, by just stopping, asking some questions, listening to the answers. And that is like revolutionary for a lot of businesses who are so used to broadcasting and forcing and manipulating people into doing what they want them to do, rather than going, oh wait, no, but actually, what do you want from me?
Yeah. And it's that, there are kind of two camps at the moment as well, aren't they, social media wise, of like people that are out there, and it's no criticism, that's your strategy, but posting. And then there's the other camp that's really taken a step back and is really posting with that purpose and meaning. And I think you can really see those two sides now. And what's, and when you give yourself that space, I was reading a book called, I've only just started it, it's called Deep Work. I can't remember who's written it, but it's talking about Carl Jung actually, bought a place of retreat and took on less clients when he was doing all of that work. So often it means, what a name in psychology, it's about doing less to achieve more, and that's a real mindset shift. It's a real invitation of feminine principles.
And oh my Lord, like it is a mindset shift, because I'm sure that there will be people watching this going like, what? Like, do less? That, like, no, that's an oxymoron. Like, you can't do that.
Yeah.
It's absolutely true. And like, from obviously where we come from on a business growth perspective, it's always about stripping it back and really taking some time to be considered about how you communicate, how you connect, human to human connection. And I mean, it's the same for you. I'm guessing it's the same for you when you're looking at supporting leaders through that mindset sort of shift and connecting, then it's more about connecting with oneself and taking the time and the space to listen to what your deep inner knowing is telling you.
Yeah, you know, and often I have conversations, you know, with clients, like, oh, I'm not really sure how that's going to help me in my business, you know, to take some time to look at, you know, self-compassion and why I'm not being compassionate to myself, etc. Yet they're trying to run a business based on compassion. So, you know, it can seem like a really oxymoron, but again, that conditioning comes from that we're trying to fix the world, you know, from the outside rather than actually looking what's going on within. And what we see when people are doing that, particularly there's been a shift in consciousness and things like that, is a lot of unconsciousness with that. It's that person, that's where blame comes from and all of that stuff, rather than going, actually, hold on a minute, like, how am I showing up? And that's when, you know, you can listen and hear that purpose starts to become easier.
Yeah, and I think that's for me, it's like a really big lesson of like, if it's not easy, it's not right. Like, and it, like, again, that sounds like completely crazy, but if it's not easy, it's not in line with your purpose. Your purpose isn't there to be difficult. It's not there to be fought for.
No, and often it's I even had an epiphany the other day about my purpose. I was literally driving and I was like, oh my God, I've been doing my purpose my whole life and didn't even realise that, even when I was working criminal defence. You know, I in terms of like my house, have had, you know, young women renting a room from me and actually having a real change and transition and connecting with their purpose. That's me just at home in my slippers with the cat, right? So it's just how, and I was like, I've always done that. Wow, as if I didn't realise that, you know. And it's, you know, Sophie, I host retreats and create that space for people, and I didn't even realise I was doing it in my personal life. Like, I knew I mentored and coached people, you know, unofficially, if you like, but I didn't even realise I was actually doing it within my home until relatively recently. But I had this real sense of peace. It was there the whole time, you know.
Yeah. And I think, you know, if you're watching this and you're feeling really disconnected from your purpose, I think that's a really good point, is that you might feel like you are, but you never are. Like, it's in you. It's the innate essence of all of us, that all it wants is to be listened to, right?
Yeah, and trusting that whatever you know, comes in the way of that is for a reason. Because I think, and I've seen this with clients so many times, they say stay stuck with their purpose because they think they're going to fail. So when you reframe that, we know we always fail in business somewhere, but what if you couldn't fail at that? You know, that any lessons that you have are, you know, to redirect you and reposition you. And I know I've been there in business so many times that all of a sudden the money won't be coming in like it was, and I know it's a redirection. I'm like, you need to start listening because you're going in the push, and I'm not going to be supported because I'm going off track, and we're all here to do our purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Like, what if you can't fail at that? Like, and you know, and that it's like, I know from at the beginning of my business journey, I had so much passion. I have so much passion for communication, and I was so scared of doing it for myself because it was like, what if I fail? What if I fail? And I think, like, if, you know, if there's something knocking at your like brain all the time going, but just try, just try, then try, because what if you can't fail at that?
Yeah, and it gets louder. And I don't know if you found, and you know, the further you get on, you know, further down the line with your business, when the purpose kind of starts to disappear again, it feels bigger, doesn't it? It feels like a bigger problem than it actually is. And then when you kind of really come back to that place, it's usually quite small few tweaks, just because you're ready for that next level of your purpose. But I don't know if you've had it, sometimes I felt like, oh, I'm doing the totally wrong thing, you know, this is, you know, I've been barking up the wrong tree, I've been failing all along. And then when I get you know, create that space that we're talking about, I'm like, oh, okay, I was doing it the whole time, and it's just like a little tweak in that direction, and to get rid of that and start, you know, stepping into it at a deeper level. So it's never as big as you think.
Yeah, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel and like step outside of the business that you've just spent the last however many years and all of that energy creating. you just have to take a minute to go, where am I out of alignment in this business that, you know, that means so much? Like, you know, most of us, our businesses mean an awful lot. They are like our own creations. And I think so many people do walk away from it because they feel like, oh, you know, this isn't right for me, without thinking actually maybe there's just a few really simple tweaks I can take to make it feel completely in flow again.
Yeah, exactly. And always getting help and support with that, because, you know, that's what other people are there to give you, that insight. You know, marketing experts, coaches, you know, masterminds, is to give you that real perspective, because it's that, you know, we trip on our own. We have 70,000 thoughts a day. Many of us know that, but they're the same bloody ones. So you need to have the conversations that get you to think differently.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's a really, really beautiful point to end on. Is there anything else that you think is really, you know, again, if you imagine that someone who's watching this has been feeling really lost, like I know that I've been feeling really lost at times this year. What would you say to someone to kind of help them to step back into themselves, I guess?
Yeah, it would be really to create the space that we've been talking about, do more stuff just for you. I know my big breakthroughs, and even when I'd just moved to Cornwall, I went for a walk. I hadn't really done much work for a few weeks. I went for a walk, and I literally found the house for my next retreat down the road. I was like, amazing, I'm not even working today. I was like peering around the door with the cleaner there and, you know, wanting to go in. So, you know, really trust, you know, throw the question out there, go for a walk, do what happens. And the other thing is just to get super curious with friends, family, your previous clients, your current clients, and you know, you may have even got previous testimonies. Like go back through it all and really, you know, because we should be doing this, you should be doing this at least once a year, if not more, to, you know, cut the bottom line. Cut 80% of the crap that you're doing, focus on that top level and keep refining. And so getting curious and creating space are the two real things, even though it can feel counterintuitive. And, you know, if your income's dropping, you're like, oh, I should be doing all the stuff. Do the opposite.
I love that. That's absolutely perfect. So thank you so much for joining us and for your very, very valuable insight. And if you're watching, thank you for your time. Please do let us know if you have any comments or anything that you'd like to share about your own journey in business and in finding your purpose, because we would really love to hear from you. So thanks very much, and we'll see you again. Bye.